Coping with an unplanned pregnancy lent me to both compassion and perspective, and another family would fulfill their dreams of having a child. Then we ran into some trouble. I remember him saying, "Maggie, I have to do a hysterectomy." Everything changed at that point. I had to think, am I prepared to never have another baby? God cannot lead us unless we are willing to follow. He led me to Khaki and the amazing staff at First Coast Women's Services. I found myself in the midst of an unplanned pregnancy. I had no idea what I was going to do. I found First Coast Women's Services and they saved me. I went through counseling for months, and I really solidified the fact that adoption was what I needed to do. My choice, God's choice, that there was going to be a baby born and I would be the vessel through which another family would fulfill their dreams of having a child. With my partner Luke, we both decided that this was definitely our plan. So I picked Tom and Sarah. Tom and Sarah come from Texas. They have a 3-year-old little boy already, and they're looking for another. God put us together, and that's what was meant to happen. They came down to Florida when my due date was, and 7 hours later, a healthy baby boy was born, 8 pounds, 5 ounces. They laid him in my chest, in my arms. He was beautiful. He was perfect. He was a terror to get out of me, but it was something that I will never forget, and it was beautiful. Then we ran into some trouble. Apparently, they couldn't stop me from bleeding. He was doing everything to try and get the blood to stop, but it wouldn't. They took my son out of my arms, and they placed him back in the basket and rushed me to emergency surgery. They had me laying on the table, and the last thing I remember him saying is, "Maggie, I have to do a hysterectomy." Everything changed at that point. I had to think, am I prepared to never have another baby? First Coast Women's Services is just an amazing organization. You can't even really describe in words when it comes to the emotions that they prepare you to go through. They're the ones that made sure I was ready for this long before it happened. So I was. My faith doesn't make things easy. It makes things possible. I signed the papers with every fiber of my being knowing that it was the right thing to do. Tom and Sarah then became the guardian of the baby. They were able to take him home from the hospital back to Texas. And, they never disappointed with their updates, wonderful pictures of him smiling. Recently, his first birthday passed. I couldn't afford to send him even a card, so I cried. Then I realized the very reason I had given him up for adoption was because I couldn't financially care for him. And a year later, I'm in the same place. And that solidifies even more that I had made the right decision. If nothing else, the people at First Coast Women's Services save lives. I will never tell anyone adoption is easy, but I will always make sure they know it's worth it.
Our desire at First Coast Women's Services is to offer life-affirming choices to women and men facing unplanned pregnancies for their unborn child. But we could not do any of this without your help. Please consider becoming a volunteer, a member of our prayer texting team, and making a financial contribution. Because of your support, we will continue to offer help and the hope found in Jesus Christ.
I will always be thankful for what First Coast Women's Services gave to me.
They showed me that my life was worth living.
God is a God of restoration. So that's what First Coast Women's Services has done for me.
If it wasn't for First Coast Women's Services, we would not have our beautiful daughter, Kaylee,